Hey guys, welcome back. Now let's get started with our day 24 walkthrough. This will be our last task. You guys can go ahead and read the story here. Coming to the learning objectives, after completing this task, you will learn about procedures for collecting digital evidence, the challenges with modern smartphones, using autopsy digital forensics with an actual Android image. Forensics is a method of using science to solve crimes. As a forensic scientist, you would expect to collect evidence from crime scenes such as fingerprints, DNA, and footprints. You would use and analyze the evidence to determine what happened at the crime scene and who did it. With the spread of digital equipment such as computers, phones, smartphones, tablets, and digital video recorders, when it comes to digital evidence, the ideal approach is to acquire a raw image. A raw image is a bit-for-bit copy of the device storage. Forensics is an essential part of criminal justice system. It helps to solve crimes and bring criminals to justice. However, for evidence to be permissible in court, we must ensure that it's not tampered with or lost and that it's authentic when presented to the court. This is why we need to maintain a chain of custody. Chain of custody is a legal concept used to track the possession and handling of evidence from the time it's collected at a crime scene to the moment it's presented in court. The chain of custody is documented through a series of written records that track the evidence's movement and who handled it at each step. In the following sections, we assume that we are dealing with computers and smartphones owned by a company or seized as a part of criminal investigation. Acquiring a digital forensic image. Acquiring an image for digital forensics can be challenging, depending upon the target device. Computers are more accessible than other devices, so we'll start a discussion by focusing on them. There are four main types of forensic image acquisition. Static acquisition. A bit-by-bit image of the disk is created when the device is turned off. Live acquisition. A bit-by-bit image of the disk is created when the device is turned on. Logical acquisition. A select list of file is copied from the seized device. Sparse acquisition. Select fragments of unallocated data are copied. The unallocated areas of the disk might contain deleted data. However, this approach is limited compared to static and live acquisition because it doesn't cover the whole disk. Let's consider the following two scenarios. The seized computer is switched off. As a part of the crime scene, the investigators stumble on a live computer that is switched on. A computer that's switched off. Imagine the evidence as a Windows 10 laptop that's switched off. We know that by default the disk is not encrypted. We should not turn it on as this will make some changes to the disk and tamper with the evidence as a result. Removing the hard disk drive or SSD from the laptop and cloning it is a relatively simple task. We use a write blocker, a hardware device that makes it possible to clone a disk without any risk of modifying the original data. We rely on our forensic imaging software to get the raw image or equivalent. This would create a bit-by-bit copy of the disk. Finally, we need a suitable storage device to save the image. The computer that's turned on. Another example would be dealing with a laptop that is switched on. In this case, we shouldn't switch it off. Instead, we should aim for a live image. The laptop might be encrypted, and shutting it down will make reading its data impossible without a password. Furthermore, data in a volatile memory might be important for our investigation. While they are able to analyze the device that's switched on, investigators can gain access to the accounts and services suspect is logged into. This can be indispensable in some instances to prove guilt and solve a crime. Various tools can be used. They usually require us to run a program on the target system, giving us access to all the data in the volatile memory and on the non-volatile memory. Acquiring a smartphone image. The smartphone is a ubiquitous digital device that we can expect to encounter. Modern smartphones are now encrypted by default, which can be a challenge for digital forensics. Without the decryption key, encrypted storage looks literally like random data. Finding the decryption key is crucial to be able to analyze the image. Let us briefly overview smartphone encryption before discussing acquiring a forensic image of an Android device. Encryption in smartphones. Android 4.4 introduced full disk encryption. When full disk encryption is activated, the user-created data is automatically encrypted before being written into the device storage and decrypted before being read in the storage. Furthermore, the phone cannot be booted before providing the password. It is important to note that this type of encryption applies to built-in storage and doesn't include removable memory such as micro SD cards. Android 7.0 introduced Direct Boot, a file-based encryption mode. File-based encryption lets us use different keys for different files. From the user's perspective, the phone can be booted and some basic functionality can be used, such as receiving phone calls. Beyond this basic functionality, the encryption password needs to be provided. Depending on the settings and the Android version, the SD card might also be encrypted. Android 9.0 and higher can encrypt SD card as it would encrypt internal storage. Since Android 6.0, encryption has been mandatory. Unless we are dealing with an older Android version, we can expect the C's phone to be encrypted. Apple iPhone devices are encrypted by default. Data protection, a file-based encryption methodology, is a part of iOS, the iPhone's operating system. In this section, we provided an overview of smartphone encryption. Ultimately, encryption can be a significant obstacle that digital forensic investigators need to overcome. Obtaining or discovering the encryption key is necessary for a complete digital forensic investigation. Practical case. Tracy McGreedy's phone is company property. This means that it was easy for Detective Frost to seize it and ask Forensic McBlue to use his expertise to carry out a digital forensic investigation. The first thing Forensic McBlue does is put the phone in a Faraday bag. A Faraday bag prevents the phone from receiving any wireless signal, meaning Tracy McGreedy can't wipe its data remotely. Now that McGreedy has Tracy Greedy's Android phone, it's time to get an image. He successfully unlocks the phone using the same password used to lock everyone out of the server room 3 weeks ago. What a coincidence. The main tools McBlue uses for analyzing Android phones are Android Debug Bridge and Autopsy Digital Forensics. Once the phone is unlocked and connected to the laptop, creating a backup using ADP backup is relatively easy. Here's the exact command he uses. So here, this part tells the command to back up all the data, and this specifies the file to save the backup to. The main limitation of ADP backup is that some applications don't support this option as they explicitly disallow backups with the setting allow backup equal to false. Furthermore, although this option still works with a limited number of applications, it has been restricted since Android 12, so it's a good idea to rely on more robust alternatives. This backup of various applications is considered a logical image, but Forensic McBlue isn't satisfied. He wants a full raw image of the phone storage. Many commercial products can be used to acquire this image. However, most of them rely on Android Debug Bridge and combine it with other tools such as an exploit to gain root access. Forensic McBlue prepares a list of potential exploits that would give him root access to the Android device. After a couple of attempts, Forensic McBlue is able to exploit the phone successfully and get root access. With root access, he has full access to all the physical storage. To confirm that he is root, he issues the command "Who am I?" He also needs to issue the mount command to find the mounted devices. But this would result in a very long list of all real and virtual mounted devices. However, the application data is in the directory data. We need to focus our attention on the storage device mounted on data. To filter for the lines mentioning data, Forensic McBlue uses the command mount grep data instead of just mount. The output allows him to pinpoint the name of the storage device mounted on data, which turns out to be this. The interaction can be seen in the terminal below. As we learned from the commands in the terminal above, this is the device. Think of the device as a partition on the smartphone's disk. McBlue wants to get this whole partition and analyze it using Autopsy. There are many ways to leverage the power of ADP and get a raw dump. One easy way is using ADP pull. The command above will pull the device and save it to a local file. After a few minutes, the command is complete and a 6 GB image file is created. Note that we need root access for the above command to work on an Android device. Now all we have to do is import the image into Autopsy. The steps are straightforward as we see in the screenshots below. Once we start the Autopsy, we see a dialog box asking whether we want to create a new digital forensics case or open an existing one. After clicking new case, we should specify the case name. Let's use the suspect name and the device to avoid ambiguity. So now let's go and power up our machine. So now let's go ahead and open up Autopsy. So our image has opened up here. So let's go to the questions now. One of the photos contain a flag. What is it? So now let's go to file types by extension and click on images. So here we have a flag. What name does Tracy use to save Detective Frostew's phone number? So let's go to the contacts here. So as you can see here, there is only one name with the detective. So it should probably be this. So coming to the last question, one SMS exchanged with Vince Sprangles contains a password. What is it? Okay, so now let's go to the messages. So here there is something about the password. So here we have the password. Let's type this in. So now we have completed our day 24 walkthrough. Thank you for watching my video and stay tuned for more.